My name is Senator April Weaver, and I represent portions of Shelby, Bibb, and Chilton counties, and I'm proud to represent a part of Hoover. Like so many others around Alabama and the rest of the nation, I paused when news of the abduction and disappearance of Carlethia Russell was first reported, and I said a prayer for her safe return. The fact that such an incident could occur so close to home made it very disturbing and made an already disturbing event even more alarming. And just like so many others, I was outraged when it was discovered that the entire incident was an elaborately staged hoax. It wasted thousands of taxpayer dollars and hundreds of human resource hours within our local, state, and federal law enforcement community. Perhaps the biggest victims of Russell's hoax were the dozens of volunteers who selflessly donated their time in record-breaking heat to search for her. My outrage was compounded when she was charged only with local misdemeanor violations because no adequate state felony punishment to suit her actions was on the books. While we can't go back and undo the damage that was done, we can take solid and decisive steps to discourage similar hoax abductions from ever taking place again. That's why I'm sponsoring legislation that imposes prison time and mandatory restitution requirements for the full cost of resources expended by law enforcement agencies during a hoax abduction. Joining me today to discuss the bill and to outline the needs for its quick passage, State Representative Mike Shaw of Hoover, State Representative Lee Hulsey, who also represents parts of Hoover. Representative Shaw will be carrying the measure in the House. Hoover Police Chief Nick Durgis, an investigator from his office, and a representative from Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall's office. Let me introduce the House sponsor, Representative Mike Shaw, who will be followed by Hoover Police Chief Nick Durgis.
Okay. Well, thank you, Senator. Like a lot of people, when I first heard the news that someone had been kidnapped in our community, well, first, your heart goes out to the victim, or who we thought was the victim at the time. But then as a policymaker and as a lawmaker, you think, how could this happen here? I mean, we have one of the safest cities in the nation, thanks to Chief Durgis and our law enforcement. So how can this happen here? And as I watched hundreds of volunteers, I watched Hoover Police Department out there on the streets trying to solve this problem. I watched it become a national story, an international story, and really made it look like our community was somewhere where somebody can disappear without a trace. And they were using toddlers as bait and all these crazy stories. And of course, now we know that's not true. We know it was an elaborate hoax that was put on to get attention or something. And we know that our laws need updating to reflect that this is a serious crime. It hurts the fabric of our community. And so we're excited to put this bill together to hopefully, we can't go back in time and talk some sense into Carlee Russell. What's done is done. But hopefully through some, this enhancement of the laws we're making to increase the penalties for this crime, hopefully we can prevent it in the future and make anybody who's thinking about hurting our community like this think twice about what they do. So I'll be working hard in the House. I know the Senator will be working very hard in the Senate, and I'm very confident that it's going to pass. I think people see this as common sense legislation that's going to solve a problem, and hopefully we don't have a situation like this again. So thank you. Thanks, Senator. Chief, thank you.
On July 28, 2023, I had a press conference announcing 2 misdemeanor charges against Carlee Russell. During the conference, I stated, I'll be contacting our legislators in Montgomery and ask them for some enhancement to existing legislation when someone falsely reports a kidnapping or a violent crime. 6 months later, here we are. I want to thank Speaker Ledbetter, Senator Weaver, Representative Shaw, Representative Hulsey, and General Marshall and his staff on the support of this enhancement. Judging from the emails and phone calls that our department received last July, individuals throughout our country called us and were appalled that Carlee was only being charged with a misdemeanor despite the panic and disruption with her actions that she caused in our community. I felt the same way. Our department worked over 424 hours of overtime. 30% of our workforce was devoted at some point to this event. Our entire investigative bureau caused other investigations to be delayed because everyone that worked in investigations worked on this particular case. We deployed drones. We deployed K-9 teams. Our CSI investigative team was out there. We drove untold amounts of miles, fuel expended, and the wear and tear unnecessarily placed on our city assets. Our 911 center was inundated with calls from concerned citizens, media, and individuals from around our country with concern and relaying several tips. The center had to call in additional personnel to help field the calls, preserve the recordings, and assist us in this investigation. During this event, they answered over 1,000 calls dealing with this particular event that certainly hampered the need for other emergency services. We want to thank those outside agencies who contributed to us: Bessemer Police, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, ALEA, the FBI, and the Secret Service. We deployed every available asset during the investigation for one reason: to bring Carly home safe. And that happened. Her disappearance was a hoax. Actions have consequences. This bill enhances those consequences. Thank you very much.
So this bill was filed in the Senate and the House earlier today. I filed it. It was SB 24
House Bill 82.
and also House Bill 82. It will be available on Allison later this afternoon for you to see. I think we have also distributed some copies of the bill draft, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
What kind of prison time could someone be looking at for this type of thing, hopefully, with this bill?
So this bill does increase it from a misdemeanor to a Class C felony, which would be from a year and a day into 10 years.
You know, there were a lot of people in July and October. Obviously, this is a very public case. You mentioned, you know, this girl received a lot of public backlash. She learned her lesson. She doesn't need to go to court. Why is the public backlash maybe not enough? Why are harsher penalties needed for faking an incident?
So this is not specifically about this case. This case did instigate the discussion for looking at legislation to strengthen our laws. This law would go into place on October 1st, 2024, but you know, it brought a lot of attention to laws that we needed to strengthen.
Can you speak to how this could be an example of helping law enforcement, not just in this area, but of course around the state as well?
You know, certainly anytime you have an accusation or a false claim such as this, it engages lots and lots of law enforcement response. Hopefully by having stricter penalties, we then deter any other actions like this that will take place in the future.
And restitution.
And restitution.
And on that note, could you also speak about, you know, obviously overtime, driving, fuel, all those things, but there's so much more that could be included in that restitution portion as well.
And we did define that in the law. You know, there is currently an avenue for restitution, but we did define it in the law that we dropped, in the bill that we dropped today.
Should Carly Russell be paid more in restitution? Is that why this part of the bill was enhanced?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think this is about Carly Russell. I think this is about future cases. And as I stated, when you start talking about the overtime that we spent, about the wear and tear, you know, this was a 49-hour deal, and we probably, in real money, way over $50,000 in those 49 hours that our city has spent. And I think, as the senator said, I think this is a bill that hopefully will try to deter from someone else doing it. But if they do, there'll be consequences that person needs to face.
Can you speak more on the time in jail that someone could spend? How does this bill strengthen that?
So again, the bill takes it from a misdemeanor, Class A misdemeanor, to a Class C felony.
And how much time does that increase?
Class C felony defined by a year and a day up to 10 years.
Senator Weaver, or maybe the chief could answer this. How often do real abductions take place, maybe in your police department or across the state? And how does this sort of send a message to victims of real abductions?
You'll say something? Okay, yeah. I've been with the Hoover Police Department for 40 years, and this is the first time that we've really thought at one point in time that we had a real abduction. We have situations that sometimes occur. Usually it could be individuals that know each other and maybe somebody kind of held somebody at will. But, you know, when you talk about a stranger abduction, it's not something that happens often. And it's something that law enforcement all over the state, all over the United States, takes very, very serious. And again, if something like that happened tomorrow, it would be investigated just like it was. We, again, used every resource that we had available. We called on the state, we called on the feds. Everybody jumped in, and again, thank goodness in this situation that it, you know, she returned home, and again, that was the goal, number one goal for us. But again, after we sit back and look at everything, that the resources and the fact that officers are out there looking, they think they're really looking for something. So the adrenaline is pumping. I mean, this is not TV stuff, and I'm just very, very pleased that the senator and these representatives are carrying the ball for us, and hopefully this will deter again anybody from around this state from ever doing anything like that again.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.